Hey guys, I just wanted to make a tutorial on how to use my action sets. So basically, I've had quite a few questions regarding the action sets and whether or not they're hard to install, whether or not there are instructions that they come with, and there's not. They're basic action sets. There's nothing um, that you need to follow. There are actually notes in each action that needs it. But as far as people coming from Lightroom or Photoshop Essentials and trying to come into Photoshop CC and not knowing much about it, or having never used actions before, if they're just used to hand editing, then that's completely understandable. So I wanted to go ahead and make a tutorial that explains kind of how they work, how to install them, how they work, and what each set does. So, firstly, you will download them from my site to your computer, and then you will find them in your computer, and you will double click them, and they go straight in. So now I have two because this just went in again, so I'm going to delete this one, but literally it just goes right in. I'll show you again. So see, comes right into Photoshop, into your action panel. This is actually my raw for this one. So I just grabbed the raw so that I could show you how these kind of work on a raw image. So I have Aloha and Autumn, and they're both built the same way. So Miami Gold, I'm not going to reveal it yet, but that'll be up for grabs in a couple days. But Aloha, so basically you choose one foundation. So we'll just do this one. We'll run that. It's kind of a brown tone, but this is the layer opacity, and then you can change the layer opacity to be darker, brighter, whatever. This is the brush opacity, so I can change the brush opacity up here. Select a black brush since it's a white layer mask, and I can actually brush it off of any part of the photo that I don't want it on. Okay, so there's that. Tone add-on, so I can add a tone. I'm just going to grab one. This is where it comes up with a note for you. So you can do this. You can change the opacity a little bit. I can brush it off of her, which I would do normally. Okay. So, and this one just makes it a little bit more like a vintage pinky tone. Okay, and so then in this one there are black and whites, so I can do a black and white. Let's do this one. I can do a black and white. Tropical glow. I can do this. There's your little note, and then while this gradient fill box is open, I can move this gradient around. I can click OK, and then I can change the opacity. When it's shut, I cannot move it around, but all I'd have to do is to double click that gradient layer, and then I can move it around again. So if you ever need that, you know that now. Basic adjustments. I have basic adjustments. Basically, the sharpen and the sharpen brush, the difference is the sharpen, if you run that, it runs it on the whole image. Anything that's in focus, it'll sharpen, and the sharpen brush, I will use it as a brush, and I will just sharpen the eyes or whatever. The way that brushes work, they look a bit different than the normal action. So I'll show you the Island Bokeh brush, for example. It'll tell you what to do, but again, some people have trouble, I guess, versus seeing it than reading it. So it'll come up with a black layer mask, and so that means I'm going to get a white brush, and I'll bring this up a little bit so that you can tell what it's doing. So I'm going to put this on. This is a bokeh brush. So basically, I will just add some bokeh in. If you think that you've gone a little too much on the hair or subject or whatever, you can change the brush to black and then keep it at 100%. You can change the hardness to make sure that it doesn't go outside of the part that you don't want it, or outside of the part that you do want it, I guess. And then you can clean it up, basically. So, there are lots of skin and face brushes. There's quite a bit. So, I'll just do frequency separation so that you know how that works, because many people don't. So basically, oh, I should have flattened that. Hold on. Let's go back. Okay. So basically what it did was it just copied everything. So I'm going to flatten this. And then I'm going to now flatten before using. See, Casey didn't read her own instructions. Okay, now I'm going to play this. So there's your note. So basically, I leave it around 4. That's what I set it at. And then you'll have this. So I'm going to click that drop down box. I'm going to go to blur. The texture keeps the texture, obviously. The blur will blur any blemishes so in the skin. So I'm going to, I would do a lot of other stuff before I did this, but I'm going to grab the lasso tool, stay on the blur layer, and I'm going to select pieces of skin that are similar in color, and then you can gauge kind of per image, per subject, what you'd like. Also make sure your feather is at 6 or more. That way it doesn't create an outline of where you have just been. So this is a little shortcut. It'll keep the same settings, so you don't have to go through blur and then Gaussian blur every time. So you do that all over her skin. I do this on her arm as well. And then we're going to click this whole folder off, and then you'll see kind of how it works. There's a soft skin brush as well, so you can just click that and then brush it on. There are little haze finishes, so you can click a haze and it'll bring up. Then you can use your layer mask as I showed you before. Choose a white brush, and then or black brush. It'll probably be black actually, since it's a finish. And then you will, whatever layer the color of the layer mask is, you'll do the opposite regardless. So then you will just brush it off of her or anything else that you want it off of. You have some matte finishes, you have some vignettes, you have some creamy types of finishes for the background, so you can take it off of the subject as well. And then you have complete run-throughs, so you have, you start from the very beginning with a raw image or with a flattened image, and then you can go through each of these. It'll do a lot of these steps, so it basically, it's a look that's been put together. So that's Aloha. Autumn is the same way. So we have our foundations, we have our color tones, we have some black and whites, we have some matte finishes, we have cosmetic enhancements, skin stuff. There's frequency separation. I try to put that in all of them. But everything else is pretty different. So we've got some light leaks also. We've got different light leaks. We've got different tones. These are all dark, rich, bold. The other ones are, they can be kind of rich, but they're more for spring. You can make them as light or dark as you want though. So, and along with hand editing, if you take my course or my workshop, you'll understand how to hand edit an image. So, like if you use these alongside hand editing, it really makes a difference. You can have it go any way that you want. So artistic enhancements, there are some cool things in here. This one in particular will change most greens to browns. So it's a pretty cool thing. And then you can change, like this is another one, you can change darker greens to reds, you can change yellows to dark oranges and overall brown. So you can like make an autumn scene out of a green scene, basically. We have different basic adjustments than the other ones, and we have some finishing actions. So anyways, that's pretty much how they are. I'm not revealing Miami Gold yet. It will be released this weekend, probably like in the next couple days. But basically, that is how they work. So if you have any questions, you can message me. I don't get back to my messenger that often, people on messenger that often, but feel free to message me with any questions. Many of you have already done so, so that's why this is probably going to be my only tutorial, or if I'm explaining something from my actions or from anything else, then I'll probably make a tutorial, but otherwise I'm steering clear of the tutorials, so this might be my one and only. But I've got a lot of questions, and so I thought this might help. So I hope it does. Enjoy your action sets. I can't wait to see your results.